full admission here. When you sent me, I think you either told me or sent me a text.
Mm-hmm.
And how do you say this? Barbenheimer?
Yeah, it's the phenomenon as it's become is Barbenheimer. So it's like a mashup of Oppenheimer, Barbie, and Barbie.
I definitely misspelled it. So I have Babyheimer on here. So I apologize. I couldn't remember, but when you said that, when you sent it, I was just, what is he talking about? I have no clue what he means. And then when you refreshed my memory, and I was, oh, okay, yeah. I didn't know that there was an official title for this.
Well, it's not official, but it's one of those. It's become mimetic. It's an online sensation, as people will say. Once it was announced that both of these films were coming out on the same day.
Yeah.
What we were denied with a couple years ago with the Keanu Reeves day. Originally it was supposed to be Matrix 4 and John Wick 4 were supposed to release on the same day, and everybody got all hyped up saying they were going to do Keanu Reeves day, but then they switched it. Everything with the whole mess that happened, everything got changed up. Yeah, there is a little bit of an interesting studio thing. Nolan split from Warner Brothers after Tenet.
Oh, wait, what? Hang on, sidebar. What happened after Tenet?
So Tenet didn't do well in theaters for a number of different reasons.
But that too, I mean, I feel that was more of COVID issue, but I mean,
also there were a lot of people that had issues with the movie itself. A lot of people didn't like it.
Okay.
It's probably his most contested film to date. Also, there was a hard push with HBO Max because they wanted to push it right out onto the platform, and typical Nolan didn't want to ruin his theatrical run. That's what he's all about. And there was big differences there, and he broke from the studio.
I wish I could do that. It's just break from the studio.
I think he's much more at home at Universal anyway, so I'm excited for his future there.
That's good. Yeah. So is Oppenheimer officially from, or is it a Warner Brothers release? I don't remember.
Oppenheimer, he started workshopping that with Universal pretty much right from the go. Right after the whole Tenet situation happened in 2020, he broke from them and started a new project with them, and that was the talk about a bad time to break on Warner Brothers' part, because this is his big one.
Yeah, my God. So yeah, this is definitely going to be your wheelhouse, because you read the book.
Yeah, I mean, I've followed Greta too for a long time, and it's really cool to see her finally hitting a stride with this release. I mean, it's so clear that she had a vision for this one, and even with Mattel being so in the depth with it, they're launching a Mattelverse with this. So there's already for sure going to be a Hot Wheels movie, ton more for sure. So we'll see where that all goes.
That seems to be the thing. Do you think that has passed in terms of the universe thing that studios seem to want now?
The whole cinematic universe?
Yeah.
No, I think we're going to see a lot more of it.
A lot more of it?
Yeah, we're now getting the Nintendoverse. We're getting the spoilers for the latest Transformers installment. The Hasbroverse through Transformers just launched after they dropped a hint with their post-credits scene in the last film. They dropped that they're doing
a Hasbro toy, Mr. Potato Head.
G.I. Joe.
That Hasbro?
G.I. Joe, that's what it was.
G.I. Joe. That's right.
There was a big G.I. Joe tie-in on the last one. So we'll see it. That'll be interesting where they go with that. But yeah, it blew up online. It was this huge, everyone wanted to double feature Barbie and Oppenheimer, because I think it just seemed such an absurd pairing of movies.
No, it definitely is.
But I think it's interesting because from trying to understand it and wrap your head around it, I think it is, you're getting two very unique films from two top level currently working filmmakers, and then from two of the biggest studios. So I think there's something to a lot of that. I think it's people want to see both of these succeed. So I think that's pretty cool. I think the vast differences in theme too, I think just make it kind of funny and entertaining just to double feature these. It should be interesting.
Well, I have to say I saw the trailer for Barbie, and I didn't know that was the first thing I saw. I didn't know what to expect. After watching that, of course, trailers are supposed to make you want to go see the movie, but that actually made me want to go see it.
Yeah, what's his name? Gosling just looks so funny in it. Margot looks so funny in it. Just seeing the two of them paired up is going to be fun.
No, I think the casting has worked out, at least so far from what I can tell.
Yeah.
This is before I've seen it take.
Yeah, and I think this unique pairing of films is just something that's a bit strange, but at the same time super intriguing. It's blown up online. A lot of people are showing a lot of interest in double featuring this strange pairing. So I think it's going to make for an interesting movie going summer. This is definitely the biggest. I think with Oppenheimer, we're seeing the biggest IMAX release of probably the year, if not at least the summer. Mm-hmm. So I think that's going to be an interesting experiment. Seeing the two of them together.
I do agree. Again, again, coming from when I saw an Oppenheimer trailer too, I was kind of surprised that it actually got for me a tangible, audible reaction in the theater.
Yeah.
Granted, it wasn't a packed theater, but I was, oh wow, there's actually an emotional reaction happening in front of me that I'm a part of for the Oppenheimer trailer. And I was really, people actually are interested in seeing this. The cynic that I am sometimes, I thought, oh, it's
a biopic, it's history.
Yeah, it's a biopic of someone that probably most people don't even know about. I was surprised. I mean, I don't even know much about. I just know the name.
Wow, really? I would have thought you'd have been a big buff of the history there.
No. I love the World War II history, but I never went into the Manhattan Project much. I don't know why.
Well, that's very interesting because I think you are going to get a lot out of this.
All right, I'm ready.
It is a very, very fascinating piece of history. I think a lot of people don't know a lot of what went on, especially through the Manhattan Project, but through Oppenheimer's life, and especially the latter portion. I don't want to get too into it because the movie is coming out. I don't want to spoil things, but he had a very interesting life. I don't know. Obviously, at this point, given the time that we're releasing this, I don't know exactly what the movie will cover. But given that they're basing it off of the biography, I think there's a lot that they'll pull from in the book. But I mean, he was a very smart kid. He was overly educated and couldn't get enough. He kept wanting to do more and more topics in schooling, and he even went and led a conference that he wrote letters to, and they mistook him for an elder scientist who knew what he was talking about because he was so articulate in his letters that he wrote to jump out and join in this conference that they let him keynote speak, and he's a 12-year-old kid. So I thought that was very early on in the book.
Damn, I did not know that, yeah.
Interesting little tidbit, but I think it's a smart piece of history to bring up at this point. I think with a lot of the rise in tech, I think there's a lot of fear of knowledge in the same way that there was around the time. I think it's very topical for this time for global concerns as well, and I think there's a lot of interesting conversations to be had, dredging up this history and having a lot of people get interested in research it on their own, look into it, and I think it's one that's worth people's time.
Oh, nice. So do you think this, am I saying it, correct me if I'm saying this wrong again, Barbenheimer, right?
Yeah, no, you got
Barbenheimer. Okay. Not Babyheimer. Barbie. It's just one too many hits with a snake.
I keep going back. And when you say Barbieheimer, I go back to think of the thing, the claw thing from Toy Story. For some reason, that's what pops into my head.
The weird. You think the thing from Sid's room?
Yeah, exactly. The creepy looking
baby
thing.
Head. Oh yeah. Oh god, that is Anyway, so was this on purpose? You think by the studios? Or wait, are they both coming? They're not coming both from the same studio, are they?
Oh no, Barbie is a Warner Brothers and Oppenheimer is a Universal release.
Okay, so was this just pure coincidence then? The release?
I don't know that it was coincidence. I mean, obviously studios playing their stuff around. Yeah, given the break with Warner Brothers and Christopher Nolan, I mean, it's certainly plausible that there's some strategy behind.
So starting with Barbie and Greta Gerwig here.
Yeah, so
to get back on track, I took us off track.
No, you're fine. Yeah, I've always been fascinated with Greta. She's been an interesting one to watch kind of rise up the ranks. I was aware of her as an actress, but kind of loosely. She worked a couple of times with Noah Baumbach. Notably, she did a film that I think was the first time she blipped on my radar, was a film called Greenberg that she did with Noah Baumbach as director and Ben Stiller as her co-star. And it was kind of an interesting, just kind of indie kind of comedy feel. It was kind of quirky and nerdy kind of subject matter. That struck a chord with me, and I thought it was a good one. But then she went on and started slowly directing after she had the early portions of her career where she built up a bit of an acting portfolio, and she did a film with Saoirse Ronan called Lady Bird that I thought was really cool. If I remember correctly, that was a A24, I think it was. But it was just a goofy, off-the-wall, coming-of-age comedy for Saoirse Ronan's character, and it was just a fun, great little film. One of the ones that was the first big blip on the radar for Saoirse Ronan, climbing up the ranks, building her career. She's obviously a well-established actress now.
I still think that has one of the funniest openings, but in such a surreal way. When her and the mom are in the car.
She just leaps out.
Yeah, spoiler. You just don't. It starts as a very ordinary scene. It's okay, familiar. We're in the car, but I don't know if I was supposed to be laughing at that.
Yeah,
but I do remember being, because I was not expecting that at all.
Yeah, it was one of those ones. I think it just threw a lot of great little comedic curveballs at you, and that style of comedy where it just kind of, you don't know what to expect or what.
Yeah.
But she kind of has that fresh indie style, and that's why I think I'm so interested in her being the one to take this on, because it is a big studio movie, and then you take this very independent artistically minded filmmaker and put them in that mix. And that's always such an interesting chemical combination that I'm in for.
And that seems to be, does that tend to happen often right now where they'll take, I don't want to say an unknown director because I don't think.
But more of an underdog.
Yeah, but more of or someone who's done smaller film and then say, here, let's see what you can do with a bigger tentpole type movie.
I don't think that's obviously a riskier move. So I don't think that it's one that's as common. It does happen.
Okay.
I think because the times that it does really strike gold, I think studios recognize is worth taking the risk every now and then.
Mm-hmm.
But I think in this instance, if the marketing is any kind of indication, I thought it was really interesting. The first trailer that they put out, I think it came out right around the time you and I had done, or we were talking Kubrick, talking 2001. Yeah. They came out with it, and that first trailer was this gigantic homage to 2001. It was just the whole opening sequence with the monolith, and then the light emerges that the monolith is the Barbie box, and I thought that's clever. I think that it's going to be very goofy, very fun, and something very, very different. So I'm excited. I'm in for that.
Well, I'm glad to see too that films are still paying homage to past films when they can and when they feel it's appropriate. So that's good to know that some of these things are still surviving into the modern day. So she
had a couple of great breaks early on in her career. And what I thought was interesting is a couple of her first early gigs, her namesake characters are named after her. So it does feel she kind of knew somebody, but for that to happen, to be written in as a character name. But she definitely had a lot of smaller roles early on in her career. She did a lot of short film stuff.
And she started out as an actress?
Yeah, she still does. I mean, she still has a couple of roles coming up that she does perform. She's been in a couple of music videos and things. She's kind of not necessarily a one trick. She does a bit of everything, and she's done a fair bit of writing as well. But I think her directing credits are really starting to set her apart because she is a talented director. Mm-hmm. And I think especially with this release, I think she's going to start to break out in that category, and we'll see a lot more from her.
I didn't realize. I don't know if you mentioned this just a bit ago. I didn't realize she was in the Mumblecore.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Films. Yeah.
She's had a couple of series that she's done some short runs on. She's been a bit all over the place, but in the best way possible. She's done a number of big films at this point that she's just popped up in. She was in Isle of Dogs, which I thought was super cool. Obviously through Saoirse, she has the connection to Wes, but yeah, I think she only has a number of directorial credits at this point, but I think the ones that she does have are interesting choices and interesting projects.
Do you think from what you've seen her do, and you've seen more, I think the only ones I've seen of hers is Lady Bird.
I've definitely seen more of her performances.
Okay.
Like I said, I mean, her acting portfolio is much more at this point. But landing Barbie, I think, is going to be a big jump forward in her career because I think a lot of people are going to take more notice of her.
Yeah.
Whereas not that she wasn't noticed before, but this is definitely a bigger step in her career.
So definitely early on in the directorial stage of her career.
Yeah.
So what would you say, I mean, just going off of what you've seen from a cinematography standpoint, does she tend to favor certain styles right now that you can tell, or is it still, or do you need more to decide on that?
Yeah, I think she's still kind of, she's crafting, she's getting there, and I think Lady Bird is I think the biggest note for her style at this point. It did have a bit of an indie flair, but I mean it was from A24, so that you couple that in as well. That comes the territory of that. They tend to have that big budget independent flair. I think is kind of their signature. So.
Yeah. Okay.
But yeah, looking into Barbie itself, I think it looks to have that insane level of ensemble cast going on. It seemed I did want to bring up as well. I'm not sure if you heard about the Roscoe paint shortage that resulted.
Roscoe? No. What's this?
So Roscoe that makes a lot of paint that is used by film sets, but to make the gigantic set for Barbie, they built the entire Barbie Dreamhouse universe for real. They built it practically, whereas they probably could have.
Oh shit, they actually built it practically?
Yeah, and they had people touring it because it was so massive. And they used so much pink paint in crafting that set, they created a shortage globally. People couldn't get their hands on it. Which I thought was really funny.
Oh my God. Leave it to Hollywood to do something like that.
I think it's going to be a great comedy. I'm just in for some fun with that one.
No, definitely. And you know me, I'm picky with my stuff, especially when it comes down to, I'm picky with the story. I don't know, for you, I'm sure if something's not being shot right.
Oh, yeah.
If I find something in the writing that I oh man, it gets to me. I'm sure.
Yeah, I think, honest to God, I think if sound is off, it gets to me more first.
Mm-hmm. Oh, that's a good point. Yes,
I've seen a couple recently that just had really bad mixes that just got under my skin, and I think that will bug me quicker than bad cinematography, to be honest.
Yeah.
But the one that did kind of blow me away for cinematography lately, I went to see The Boogeyman. And that one surprised me. Not that I wasn't expecting anything good from it, but it really utilized light well, I think was the big blow away there. But yeah, there's been a lot of good stuff lately, and I think it's getting tougher and tougher to keep up because there's just so much good content out there. It's almost impossible to watch all of it.
I've only ever seen Lady Bird, her directing one. So I am definitely not the authority. Well, I'm not the authority on anything. I'm just some friggin' guy in his basement. Not even my basement. Yeah, it's just I just dug a ditch, said, this is it. This is where I am. Then proceeded to plot my way of taking over the world. Hasn't happened yet, though. Still, I'm working on the 60-year plan.
He has a 5-year plan.
Yep. But no, I gotta say, I wasn't too convinced on seeing it, but I gotta say that trailer, I was okay. This actually does look entertaining, and it looks solid. It looks like this is well made.
I have told a few people that I'm going to see it, and I did get some weird reactions from people. Why are you interested in going to see Barbie? That doesn't make any sense. You clearly haven't looked into it at all. I think it's kind of an extension of the same kind of humor of the Lego movie.
Okay.
I think it's a bit of a loose connection, but I think having Will Ferrell in there as the big business guru is
Lord business.
Definitely indicates to me that they're stabbing at a similar area of humor.
And that is a good, especially the first one, though, I think had a really good type of humor going on.
Yeah, I think that Phil Lord and Chris Miller, I think that they're doing a good job. I think that they've been putting a lot of good stuff together. I mean, even through Spider-Verse, obviously wildly successful. So I think those two guys are doing stuff.
Yeah, again, just going off of what I've seen, but it looks like it's been made with good intent, and they're not trying to just necessarily just slap the name Barbie on it and see if it sells.
No, yeah. And I think a lot of thought went into what they were going to do with it, because I think that there were a lot of ways it could have gone wrong. It seems like they have it on a right track to pull in a lot. It's grabbing at a lot of demographics.
Now, is Barbie, I guess Barbie's still, Barbie was big when we were growing up. I guess Barbie's still pretty big, toy-wise?
I think so, but...
I mean, Barbie was big even before us, but I guess it's still going strong, I would imagine.
I would imagine too, but I'm certainly no Barbie authority.
I mean, maybe one day I'll take out my collection. No. I still have some G.I. Joes, though, I think.
Yeah.
Somewhere.
Maybe after this there'll be a crossover with G.I. Ken.
G.I. Ken. So is this going to be in IMAX too, or no? I guess not.
The new Barbie movie was shot with IMAX.
So if you do the double feature, I guess, would you have to see both in IMAX?
Oh, yeah.
Because they're both going to be in IMAX then.
I think, yeah. I mean, if you can find
I was going to say, can you even
venue
find
that'll
both?
show both? That's going to be the trick.
Yeah, that would probably be the issue. Can you find both doing it?
Yeah, I don't know. We actually were just looking today. The Waterfront might be their IMAX theater might be out of commission for the release. So
wait, what do you mean out of commission?
They currently have it roped off. So I think that they're refitting their projector in there, and
it's out of service.
Yeah, we may not even be able to see it in IMAX here.
What? That is the first time. I mean, I've heard of things breaking and stuff, but I've never heard of a theater itself, an actual theater, being out of service or roped off. That's a new one.
Yeah, and if you drop your IMAX theater just a couple weeks before the biggest IMAX releases of the summer, I think that's a bit silly.
Ooh, that is. So what does it take? And I see you had mentioned that it took a long time to get the production of Barbie going.
Yeah,
was that because they always were intending it to be IMAX, or was it the script, or just everything?
Honestly, I think it came down to the script. I think that they were reworking a lot of things marketing wise. I think that they were trying to find the right balance of how to sell it. And I think that shows. I think that shows in their marketing that's where a lot of their chips are placed for that one. Was trying to get the formula for it right and what they wanted to do creatively. And I think that's very clear that they put a lot of work into that aspect.
Okay. I'm going back to the IMAX here again, just because obviously the film, the actual, now here I am by myself talking to myself. That's
now here I am by myself talking to myself.
Oh, I heard a crack of a can.
Fresh crack.
Yes. Is that a beer, a Coke, a wine cooler?
One of them Arnie Palms.
The spiked Arnie Palmers?
Yeah.
Ooh, how is it? I saw that the other day. I wanted to try it, but haven't.
You should grab some. I recommend.
I should grab some. Okay.
Yeah, they're quite tasty.
They sound very refreshing.
I should do an ASMR ad for it.
We are not sponsored by Arnold Palmer iced teas. Regarding IMAX.
Okay.
First off, when they shoot in IMAX, deliberately shoot a movie in IMAX.
So there's a couple
cameras
layers
are definitely
there.
different, right?
Depends on what you mean. Do you mean shooting?
Take me through the whole thing. Because one, are they even using actual film anymore when they shoot this, or is it a different capture card? Take me through when someone says, "Hey, we're shooting this for IMAX with IMAX." What changes in terms of the cinematography on a movie set?
So there are digital equivalents to IMAX that can be distributed to digital IMAX projection, or if you scan out for whatever reason you would do that, you could also scan out to analog for that. But if you shoot for large format digitally,
when we're looking at one that's not, I guess we should do what's the standard default that Hollywood studios go to when they're shooting a movie. We're not going to shoot IMAX. We're just shooting this regular. Well,
I think that meter is kind of moving, so I don't even know if I could say where that standard is anymore. It used to be that the big releases, the standard was Panavision. 65 mil would be the kind of big studio release standard. But I mean, now it's kind of, that meter I think is kind of moved a bit with the big digital revolution. So I think that's a more nuanced conversation now.
So it depends on the project now that's going.
Yeah, I mean, there's projects now that are coming out with Sony. Pardon my burp. There's projects coming out. I mean, I know.
Brought to you by Arnold Palmer.
Brought to you by Arnold Palmer. I know there were some shots in Mad Max Fury Road. I think specifically the Snorri cam footage in the intro sequence was shot on a Blackmagic handheld camera.
Oh, okay.
So, I mean,
I've never even heard of Blackmagic.
Oh, yeah. I'm actually surprised you haven't. But yeah, they were a big deal right around 2013 when we were coming out of school. Everybody was picking one of them up because you could just jam an SSD into it. It would shoot on comparable format. And they picked up real big at that time because everybody was trying to make short films look as good as they possibly could on a budget. So
are most people, is film not actual film stock? Is that even being used as much anymore now?
It is, but it's expensive. It's tougher to come by. It's not just the film itself. It's the process to properly handle it. The crew who know what they're doing with that are harder and harder to come by. I think it's the whole process that makes it expensive. It's not just necessarily buying film stock, buying the IMAX rigs if you want to shoot in IMAX, the Panavision rigs to do that. I think it's just having people that know what they're doing with that is where the challenge comes into play, because it's become a bit of a lost art. Handling that footage and handling nitrate film stock is a finicky process and easily messed up. You can overexpose your film. You can ruin an entire day's shoot just by mistakenly opening the tent and letting that light in.
All right. So if I say to you, and I'll just say if I want to shoot a movie in IMAX.
Now, let me ask you this counter question. Are you shooting in an IMAX format for digital release? So are you shooting on digital cameras, or are you shooting analog for a 70 millimeter print?
I guess I would go with digital. I guess that would be would that be the easier version to work with? Or
yes, definitely.
Okay. So if we're going digital,
I think, I mean, that depends. I think you kind of have to justify it. So I do feel that format, because even if you are shooting it digitally,
is Barbie shot digitally? Do you know at all? Because I have no clue.
It was shot in Arial X65 format. So the digital equivalent.
Okay. Rather than the actual. Okay. What is it? Would you say 70 millimeter is the?
So I'm sure you've seen the behind the scenes footage of Dark Knight where they used the IMAX rigs.
Yeah.
Those IMAX rigs that they used on that are IMAX 70 millimeter. So it is larger than the Panavision large format 65 mils. Mm-hmm. And those, I actually have a couple film cells of IMAX lying around. You can look at it side by side. It is bigger than standard large format, but I think it's hard. I think IMAX is the most, if you're shooting 70 millimeter analog with an IMAX rig, I think it's more difficult for sound, because I don't know if you've ever heard, I'll have to send you a clip from the shooting of Nope. I think it was last summer.
Yes, I believe so. Yes.
They also shot that on analog X because Hoyte von Hoytema, actually Nolan's go-to DP, was involved, and he shot,
I guess I always thought that shooting on digital or shooting on IMAX would make the cinematography process easier.
Sorry if that's coming through. Did you hear that?
No, you're good. I did a little bit.
So that is the sound of an IMAX rig on set.
What is it?
Could you actually hear that?
I heard the like, it sounded like a shutter almost.
Yeah, that's how loud the shutter is.
I don't know. I guess I always thought that.
But that's why they had so many issues with Dunkirk, and why Dunkirk is so mixed format, because those dialogue scenes, they couldn't use the IMAX rig. So anytime that they're shooting dialogue back and forth, they were switching back to Panavision because it's not quite as loud with the shutter.
So that makes sense. And yeah, I would always wonder why sometimes you mentioned Dark Knight. Why would some scenes are...
Well, Dark Knight, the main reason it was only select scenes was because it was Dark Knight was the first time it was ever used on a narrative production.
Huh.
It was really only used for like Penguin documentaries up until...
Yeah, that's true.
So they I thought it was funny, the first day they had it out, they tried flying it on a Steadicam that snapped the arm clean off because they didn't accurately account for the weight.
Wait, take a look at this Nope thing. Man, that is loud.
Right? See, it puts it into some better perspective as to why they do that, right?
Yeah. It's so strange, too. Having not even been on a set for a while myself, you tend to forget just all the pieces.
Yeah. It's a moving machine.
Brought together, and then everything you have to do in the post-production. The three main stages: the pre-production, the writing, getting everything ready, the actual production, and then the post-production. I think it was why I was just, I just want to stick to writing because I don't have the strength or the ability to go through all three stages of a movie making process sometimes.
Yeah, it's a hurdle. It's a decathlon, really.
But it is, if you get it right, I got to say the IMAX, that grand scope can definitely be worth it.
I think these directors who are committing to it, especially in the analog form of it, Jordan Peele and Christopher Nolan especially on that front, I mean, they're pushing the boundaries with it. A lot of people didn't like Nope, but I thought they used such crazy processes on that. A lot of people don't know about the day for night on the shoot. Did you see Nope by chance? Did you?
I didn't. I actually got to tour one of the sets though.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, you would have been out there around that.
Yeah, time. I just did the studio tour, and they had one of the sets. I guess it was I guess there's a carnival scene or like a fair scene or something. Yeah, so I got to see that.
I don't want to blow it for you, so I won't say.
Okay, yeah. No, still it's on my to watch list.
But yeah, I mean they're pushing the boundaries of what that format can do, and I think they shot all of Nope in IMAX, and I think they ADR. You can see in that clip. They're shooting a lot of the dialogue scenes for it, and they're ricketing away with that shutter. And I think they ADR'd almost all the dialogue in the movie just to have that format be maximized. And that's an insane level to do that, but more power too.
So why even then, if you want to shoot in IMAX, why even want to shoot in IMAX then? Is it just because it gets you that bigger picture?
It is honestly visually the maximum photographic you can pull it.
You can pull it.
So if you're trying to really get that theater experience, I think it pushes that boundary enough that it's worth it for these directors going after that theater experience.
Because I'd be interested to see Barbie in IMAX now.
Yeah, and I mean, you have how many Marvel films have been released in that digital Alexa format, that large format, 65. So I think I'm almost positive that Infinity War, Endgame were all shot in that.
I think so, yeah.
So I mean, that's you're getting that digital equivalent for those, and I mean, it certainly brings a lot to the table in all these movies that are trying to shoot that way, and you don't have that shutter problem because it's digital. So I mean, okay. I think there's different tools for different things that different directors are going after.
And now Nolan going into the Heimer part of our Barbenheimer segment here.
Yeah,
Nolan's been definitely. You mentioned Dark Knight, so he's definitely a fan of Dunkirk. He's definitely a fan of IMAX. We got to say, right?
Oh my, yes. I mean, he from Dark Knight on, he's fallen in love with the format for sure. I think the only film he's done since Dark Knight that didn't include it in some way, shape, or form was Inception. I think.
But I don't remember if Inception had it or not. I remember.
Yeah, Inception was Panavision all the way. I'm pretty sure. But I'm gonna have to do so much fact checking on this episode.
What's that?
I said I'm gonna have to do so much fact checking on this episode.
Yeah, we'll just cut that out or put in what do they call it, a tag or something.
Yeah,
we'll have to ADR this.
Yeah.
But yes. So he's definitely a fan of the IMAX form.
Oh my god, yeah. He's the main proponent.
Yeah, and going into Oppenheimer now. Did he? So I didn't even know that he took this from this book that you read.
Yeah, so this American Prometheus, I don't want to say mixed feelings because that's the wrong word, but it wasn't what I was expecting. I was kind of expecting more like a story. Mm-hmm. I felt I was just reading a report.
An actual, okay.
It was a very bullet point factual about Oppenheimer's life. It was kind of from birth. He did this, da-da-da-da-da-da.
And then
on and on and on. And it went through there was no hearsay. And it read very, very straightforward. It was no real interpretation of anything. It was just this thing happened, then this thing happened, this occurred. This neighbor told this person, it was always everything that's in there is accounted for factually in some way, shape, or form. So it's very, very straightforward in how it's told. And it kind of just flows through, covers bullet point to bullet point his life from start to finish of everything that is known, be factually true about him.
No, and that's interesting because you sent me that article about how Oppenheimer, the Nolan's film coming out, he wrote the script from a first-person perspective.
Yeah, and I thought that was interesting too. Having been through the take of the book at this point, it makes a lot of sense to come at it from that way. And I think with the information that's known about what occurred, that's an interesting way to play it. And I think it's going to play out largely. I mean, this is speculation at this point, at the point of this recording. But they also created a new film stock for shooting this for the IMAX format, and they never have had an actual black and white nitrate to shoot on IMAX. And Hoyte worked with IMAX, the company, to actually create a native black and white film stock, because there are whole sequences that they planned from the outset to be black and white, which I feel is going to be somehow akin to the structure of Memento, how it kind of intercuts, and there's that black and white style is given to differentiate the different point in time. So I feel like there's going to be something similar to that and the storytelling of it, but I think that kind of balance of technology and storytelling, I think, is very interesting, and I think Hoyte especially has found interesting ways to flow that into his work. And that's partly why I follow him so closely, because I feel he's constantly pushing those technological boundaries to make for more and more interesting storytelling.
So would you recommend the book for a read? Or
Absolutely. I mean, I know at this point it's close to the wire to the release here for the movie, but if you can before seeing it, I do think it will be a nice companion piece to experiencing the movie. I knew a fair bit of the history, but I mean, obviously there's only so much that I knew before going through a full account of the man's life. But I do feel that there's a lot there that a lot of people have glossed over. And in the past I've seen the movie Fat Man and Little Boy, and I've always found it interesting from that. But that movie is largely fiction. I mean, it's not really taken off of full accounts of history. I mean, at the time of making that movie, a lot of this still hadn't been declassified. There was only so much that was known to be fact.
Yeah.
So I think there's a lot of interpretation with that movie, which is not bad. And I also thought it was interesting. I went back and rewatched it in preparation for this, and I had kind of forgotten that Laura Dern was in it, and just this last time we were talking.
The Jurassic Park,
nice little tie-in. But yeah, and then they completely made up an entire character for that movie too. I mean, John Cusack's character was not a real person. He was just an amalgamation of other stories that were known but not attributed to any one person because of the classified nature of a lot of what happened. So they just kind of took those stories and pooled them into a fictional character that they made up.
So what we're getting then with this upcoming film is, I'm guessing, going to be a bit more factual or less hearsay.
Yeah, and I think Nolan does his research. So I think on that front, I mean, obviously every creator, every filmmaker has their own spin and interpretation on things. So I mean, with a grain of salt, but I do think we're going to get a more to the point take than some of the ways that this story's been told in the past.
Well, and the title too.
For the biography?
For the American Prometheus, because Prometheus, of course, from Greek mythology, he steals fire, gives it to humans, and is punished by the gods. So I
it's
the title
for
of it,
him
definitely.
Too.
It's
fitting for him too, because he was so engrossed in studying history, especially, and chemistry, obviously, and physics, but I mean, he was. It's made apparent early on in the book how much he had an appreciation for just studying in general. I mean, he wanted to learn everything. He wanted to just absorb the world's knowledge. And
I think it's, again, this back to what we were talking about, what I mentioned earlier. I was thrilled, might be the word I'm looking for, when there was a palpable reaction from the audience that I shared a movie theater with, just from the trailer of this movie. Because I do think this is something, whether you end up liking the movie or not, I do think at least knowing just a basic knowledge of this history is important. Because even I don't know much about what went on. And Oppenheimer helped work on the Manhattan Project, on the first atomic bomb program at the end of World War II. And that's pretty much for me where it kind of ends. That's one part of
so you really don't know any about
that was one part
the dynamism between Oppenheimer and General Groves. You're not versed in any of that.
No, I'm not versed in it.
I'm interested to see your take on this then once we hit this release coming up.
Okay.
It's as clear-cut a story as I think I've ever seen from what I know on the topic between Groves and Oppenheimer. It's really military versus science to try and achieve the same goal. Groves is old world. At the time of the 40s in which this actually occurred, he was old world from that world. Old world United States military, and he was very bullet point by the book. We're just going to bullhead through this and make it happen. Whereas Oppenheimer was very much the loose analytical scientist who wanted to look at the worldview of things and really study every aspect of it. And it was just such an interesting butting of heads from these two drastically different viewpointed men trying to achieve this goal, and how they ever got to see eye to eye on this project and especially in the time frame that they had. I mean, they were crunched for time this whole process. So they were trying to beat the Nazis to the bomb.
Yeah. And this is definitely one of those, how do you tell? I'm interested to see how do you tell a story like this, because you're both adapting it from a book which is taken from history, but again, you also have to make it entertaining because you gotta have people see it, but you also have to make your money back. So this is definitely, I feel this is one that is a very hard line to walk.
And I think Nolan, after Tenet didn't do as well as was expected, I think he has a lot to prove. So I think that I personally think this one's gonna hit, but you never know. It's a lot can happen in the next couple weeks, but I do think it's gonna be a big win for Universal. I think Barbie's gonna be a big win for Warner Brothers, and I think just the fact that how many people we know are going to see both of them, I think is very interesting. I mean, I think that's going to if that's an indication for the box office, I think both are going to do very well.
Well, that would be good. It would be interesting to see if a historical pick takes the top spot convincingly too.
Oh, between the two of them, if I'm being honest, I do think Barbie is going to do better. I think it just hits too many wider demographics.
You think so? Yeah, no, that's true. Yeah, but easier to grasp too, but not to take away from.
No, yeah, I think just the fact that more people are going to take their kids to see Barbie alone.
You wouldn't be, hey, you wouldn't take a 4-year-old, be like, hey, you want to go see Barbie or Oppenheimer? And they say Barbie, and you're like, well, too bad.
Just kind of a children's birthday party parading out of there crying.
Hey, I worked at a movie theater. You could get some big tips working a birthday party. Let me tell you.
Let me give you a tip. No, I'm just kidding. Don't take your kids to see Oppenheimer.
Never put Twinkies on your pizza.
Yep.
What is it? I don't even know. How's I got to look up? What's it rated? Is it rated?
Oh, it looks like it is rated R for prolonged full nudity.
Oh, all right.
That makes his comment to me the other day make a little more sense. He pulled the Sunny quote on me from the M. Night Shyamalan episode. He was shooting quotes back and forth to me. Nuclear physics. That makes better sense now that I've seen that.
But definitely, you would definitely recommend it for a read.
Yeah, I think it's a nice read. I think it's a lot of very valuable American history. For one thing, not to blow it, but the ending of the book is very telling about the state of America at the time and where things were heading. It's an interesting read, and I do recommend it. As far as I'm not typically one to go in for biographies, but I felt he was a figure that was one that was worth this read. And I mean, if you're going to read it on this subject, I mean, that is the definitive take. It's pulled from the most reliable sources. And I do think while I do feel you lose some interpretation with the way that it's told, I think the fact that it is so pointedly factually based, I think gives you kind of like very pure take of the information, which I do kind of appreciate on its own right.
Nice.
Yeah, as much as that can be a negative at times for the way that it's told, I do believe that it's as much of a benefit as well. Not to get us too wildly off topic, but what have you been?
I'm currently reading. It's a book called The Recovery Agent.
Oh, that sounds interesting.
Well, I don't know. It was just more, it was available at the library, and it's anytime. So here's what I've come to learn. And I don't know why I didn't figure this out sooner. Just because it says it's a bestseller, or if it doesn't say if it's a bestseller, doesn't necessarily mean the book is good or bad. You kind of have to, which like anything else, you have to kind of decide.
4 out of 5 dentists recommend.
Yes. But I always like to, because that's essentially the dream. I would love to publish a book.
Yeah.
And I'm always like, okay, what's current right now? What everybody reading at the moment? So I always try to read one for me, one for whatever's currently popular, and then one classic. I kind of try to keep in that order. I don't always do well with it, but yeah, I started reading that. And it's okay so far. But I guess for me too, when I see bestseller, I get my expectations just shoot out the window.
Yeah.
So, but certainly nothing nearly as, what's the word I'm looking for? Heady as American Prometheus.
Yeah, I think because it's such a real take, it's all factual information. So I think it kind of hits home a little harder because it's all stuff that is bad DNA.
Yeah,
in the American psyche. I think there's a lot to it that hits a little harder. That it's all real.
No, but definitely interested in seeing both of them. Now, here's the question. Do you see Barbie first and then Oppenheimer then Barbie? Or do you go back and forth between the two? Do you buy tickets for both of them and then run back and forth to each theater?
I like that take. I like your third option. Yeah, I think there's a case to be made for both. But I think personally I'm going to see Barbie first, then leave on the sour note of Oppenheimer.
Okay. See, I would maybe go get the Oppenheimer first, then lift my spirits back up with Barbie.
Yeah, I think softening myself up for the hard hit is the best way to go.
And see, now me, I'm just punch me in the face and let's get it over with.
Yeah, I don't know. I think there's a solid case to be made for each way, but
definitely worth seeing both.
Are you going to be doing the double feature?
I guess I have to now. God damn it!
I ruined you.
Yeah, thanks.
I think it's going to be good. I think some of the best stuff for the summer coming out on the same weekend is pretty cool.
Does the summer blockbuster still exist? Do you think, or has it changed?
Oh, I think this is proof positive.
Okay.
I think that both of these are proof that that's the case. I think at this point, we've been so engrossed in just that continuous flow of content that the idea of one thing breaking through is tougher to wrap your head around anymore. But I think this is an indication that still exists. I think in the age of streaming, we've kind of been trained into that constant flow of what's the next thing, what's the next thing.
Yeah.
And movies have become a little less of an event. And I think having a little flavor of that is a good thing.
Well, this definitely seems to capture a little bit of that event to it, because for me, I think the last one now would have been Avengers.
Yeah,
I think so. Not too long ago, but it certainly seems
point,
less
that
for me.
That was a while ago at this point.
Well, yeah, that's true. I guess
it doesn't feel like it, but Endgame was 2019, so that was 4 years ago.
How did that happen?
Exactly right. The actor Ty Simpkins.
That name rings a bell, but I don't think, no.
So he's the little kid from the first Jurassic World.
Oh, okay.
There was apparently, the two of us have done this a couple times, but I looked at it on Reddit and some stuff, and it's not totally, but there's at least a couple other people out there talking about it. There's a bit of a phenomenon with this kid. And I think what happened was Jurassic World, from their production schedule through their post-production schedule, was a very long period of time that this kid aged up a few years in the time it took for that to release.
Oh, yeah.
So by time Jurassic World actually released, and by time he was shown in Iron Man 3, everyone just kept looking at him as this young kid over such a long period of time. And then that he aged up big time, and everybody couldn't rationalize that, and people weren't connecting the dots of where he was at, because he was in The Whale.
Yeah. Oh, okay.
And just recently he was in the most recent Insidious movie, because he was in the first one and they were harkening back. But yeah, so there's a bit of a phenomenon every time people realize that he's in something. That can't be the same kid. It doesn't make sense. So I think that one's a little interesting.
Yeah,
it's a little bit of a Mandela effect thing, but in a different. I don't know. I think that's interesting.
Definitely.
No, but yeah, if you get the chance, have you seen all of Insidious?
Most of them, yeah.
If you get the chance, catch up. I thought the new one was good.
Okay, I watched the newest Evil Dead recently.
Yeah, I actually just watched that recently. Also, it was. I don't know what I was expecting, but I liked it.
It was Evil Dead. I was fine with it.
Yeah, it was very Evil Dead with absolutely no Bruce Campbell.
Yeah, pretty much.
The first remake at least had the post credit with him, the little taste. I felt that there was something missing without him.
All right.
No, I think these two are going to be a very good summer treat. I think especially if you can make it out to see both of them in one go. I think it's going to be at least just kind of be fun to be part of that conversation.
No, it's definitely something to do. Definitely a good. I think, a unique double feature worth giving a shot.
Yeah, I think so too. And it's how often you get something so wildly ridiculous to pair these two drastically different tones up together.
Not often, no.
So I think there's something fun there, and I'm on the train. Come on, ride the train. Let's ride it. I think is the song for this one. This odd pairing.
Oh my God! On that note, turn off the podcast app now.
I just play it out with that song. I actually buy the rights.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, I think if you all do the double feature and come chat with us, because I'm certainly excited for it.
Yeah, I'll be interested to hear everyone's take on what they think of these films.
I would like to touch on them and for a review once we've had a chance here to check them out for sure.
This summer, J. Robert Oppenheimer and Margot Robbie are Barbenheimer. Don't miss the movie event of the year. Barbenheimer.